That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. And Jim, you have a note here that it seems, you're right, that oil from Alberta has suddenly become less dirty than what Francois Legault led us to believe. What's this about?
Well, it's the same kind of, we have what we call in these parts a double discourse, a two-sided conversation. The first one is about Quebec sovereignty, even though so much attention is being paid to it politically. The vast majority of Quebecers have made it clear, poll after poll after poll, that they're not interested. However, now we're seeing, Quebec Solidaires hopping up and down and essentially dredging up the very words of Coalition Avenir Québec co-founder Francois Legault and showing them at his successor, Christine Fichette, because she was asked whether, because there's the announcement between Alberta and Ontario, and they're going to build a pipeline, it's going to go down to Sarnia, but if you want to get to a deep water port, you're going to have to go into Quebec. And she said, well, I'll examine the project. So, of course, everyone starts having kittens, all the environmental lobbyists and this and that. And, of course, this is not what we are in Quebec. Quebec, we love to hug trees. And, in fact, the Quebec Solidaire went back and quoted the wit and wisdom of Francois Legault describing Alberta's dirty oil. Okay? Remember, he says he doesn't want Alberta's dirty oil. Yeah. We have plenty of high electricity. That was done. This is now. But there's another reality here that's being perhaps deliberately ignored by politicians, by media, over the past 10 years. And you and I have discussed this on the show. Each time it's happened, I think there have been at least 3 publicly posted surveys showing the majority of Quebecers support a pipeline going through Quebec. The majority of Quebecers would rather get their oil from Alberta than any place else. And the fact is now that everyone seems to be having these come-to-Jesus moments, right? Going, well, it's because of the economy and people are going to... No. One more time for the people in the back. Quebecers are the biggest consumers of SUVs and F-150 pickups in the country, perhaps even in North America per capita. But the fact is they love their cars. And those cars run on gas, and they need gas. They love cheap gas, too. So anything that would drive down the price of gas, of course, will be welcomed by. And so this is why all of a sudden it's becoming so weird, Aaron, because all of a sudden you've got these politicians who are reading from their script, but all of a sudden they're in the wrong play, right? All of a sudden it's not like, oh, my goodness, there's a consensus in Quebec. Social acceptability, remember that old chestnut? Social accessibility for a pipeline. There's always been social acceptability for it. And the only people who have, vigorously opposed it are environmental lobbyists and politicians who thought they were culling votes, although that doesn't seem to have actually worked out. It certainly isn't going to pan out now. But let's face it, maybe kicking and screaming, not only is Quebec being dragged into the 21st century, it's also being dragged into the real world. Maybe that'll be a very positive outcome of the October election, that suddenly they'll take away all the kind of tinsel cobwebs that have surrounded Quebec's political discourse for the past 50 years and realize that we can compete. But you know what? Stop talking about stuff that's not going to happen. Start talking about stuff that you need to do for ourselves and to a certain extent what we can offer the world, and let's get on with it. But frankly, it's kind of awkward, I think, watching this discussion now where people on the one hand are freaking out over something that the vast majority of Quebecers have made it clear they've wanted for at least the past 10 years.
So I would ask, based on that, Jim, and I did talk about this the other day because, of course, I had Christy Clark on, the former premier of BC, who's all gung-ho and, said, look, I tried to talk to whoever was in power then in Quebec, as you said, back in 2017, 2018. What holds this back at the end of the day, do you think? Or what prevents any political party, other than maybe, Eric Duhem at the Conservatives, to say, you know what, it's time and here's why?
Oh, I don't think Duhem would throw up roadblocks. Quebec Solidaire, definitely. The PQ is very skittish about having anything whatsoever to do with Canada, much less an actual pipeline being built from what they perceive as a foreign country. But what's interesting, I think, is that between now and Election Day, first of all, I think this will be an election issue. And secondly, you're going to see how the change in the vernacular when it comes to the environment. I mean, what's great, former Environment Minister Bernard Drinville, remember him? And he was being asked, he's the MNA for Lévis, he was being asked about the pollution potential for a third link to Lévis, whether it was a tunnel or a bridge, and he goes, "Don't talk to me about greenhouse gas."
Yeah, I remember.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, only in Quebec. I swear to God, well, only in Quebec, but no, only in Quebec could such things be said out loud, and people would just shrug.
Like nothing happened. All right.
Yeah.
Projet Montreal, what's the note here? You write there, traffic plans were not etched in concrete. What's this about?
I'm surprised you're not stomping all over us. Maybe you haven't. I just didn't hear. I'm ashamed to say. But, first, they put the Camillien Hood project on a slab in the morgue for 3 years. But now they're actually rethinking. Remember, it was going to be a pedestrian's wonderland in Old Montreal?
Oh, you're talking about the Old Montreal. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, well, apparently, guess what? Not only are they rethinking it, they've also discovered that even though Valérie Plante was happy to announce it, not a single plan has been typed up to even examine the possibility of that happening. And I think slowly but surely, you are going to see a certain amount of deconstruction of whatever is left over from Projet Montreal's legacy, if you will. I mean, Projet Montreal's legacy really has been to completely and utterly serve the people of the cyclists of Plateau Montreal. And I think they fulfilled that mandate very, very honorably. As for the rest, I don't think so. Certainly the voters didn't think so. So, yeah, but you have to ask yourself, what's going to be next? Are we going to see more parking spaces created? Are we going to see more bike paths rethought? I don't think it's going to come down like an act of God. I think the mayor is taking it slow, doing it piecemeal, and quite frankly, I think there are some people who perhaps in a year's time are going to discover that the entire traffic dynamic in Montreal may have changed.
It's interesting you bring it up. We did talk about it. I had Leslie Roberts on the show a couple of days ago asking specifically about that. And this part about Projet never having actually had a plan came up, which is why I find it very rich now after, Ensemble is talking about, well, we're going to take a look. We're going to talk to businesses, try to figure out if there's a good way to get around this. And then Projet comes out to criticize Projet for not yet having a plan. I thought that was pretty rich.
Yeah, but that's, that's politics. And the biggest problem, and it's not just, you and I are up to our armpits in this stuff, but what people should remember, what listeners should remember, is that 9 times out of 10, if a politician shoots his or her mouth off, it's very likely they have not even bothered to do their homework. Yeah. So,
doing it for the sake of doing it. Jim, I want to get your take on what I asked our audience about this whole, I shouldn't say whole because most people think this is kind of ridiculous. Air Canada has a new CEO. He's from Europe. He's not a Canadian. He does speak French. Much ado about nothing. The fact that, he's not Canadian. He's going to be running Air Canada.
As someone who writes headlines, I have to tell you, I'm amazed I have yet to see Flying Dutchman occur anywhere.
Oh.
And the other thing is, I'm looking at this guy, Ankel van der Werf, sounds like a Simpsons character, okay? But the bottom line here, buddy, I'm speaking as a shareholder.
Yes, sir.
Guess what? Shares are heading up. They've been heading up ever since Rousseau announced his departure. But they're trudging. They had a little setback today, but they're trudging upwards. I think this news helps. And like most of the listeners, I concur. The guy can come from the crab nebula. If he makes Air Canada work better, if he makes Air Canada convince me and more than a few people who called this show today to turn around and say, you know what, I'm going to book with Air Canada because I'm like a lot of your listeners, buddy. I have turned, is there anybody else who flies there? Because I just don't want to deal with it. And this idea that somehow, and it doesn't matter what the day is, and I don't want to catch hell because I know people work for Air Canada, they're good people. But 9 times out of 10, you go down there, you're going to hit somebody who looks as if they're having a bad day, and for some reason it's your fault. And you know what? That's not how you do business.
The Air Canada of then, the Air Canada of now, as one caller pointed out, a very obvious difference, and you're basically saying the same thing. So, this is a step in the right direction. I think we can all agree on that. By the way, you have any idea what Michael Russo's doing next or where he's going next?
Well, wherever it is, I'm guessing they speak English.
James Mennie over at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Demain.
Canadian women are looking for more. more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.